Yo, what's good, ladies and gentlemen? MHE here again with another video, and we have a big football weekend, especially for college football coming up this weekend. And I couldn't be way more excited than what's coming up, man. But before we talk about the games, let's talk about like some news real quick. Mike Gundy has been let go from Oklahoma State. He's been there since he coached games this year. It's technically his 21st year. He ended with a 1-2 season. After having 170 wins and 90 losses, going 12-4 in the bowl games, or 12-4, 12-6, one of the two. He comes into this season after having a 3-9 season last year, but having a 10-3 season the previous year. Before that, they win their first game against a weak team, and then they ran into a buzzsaw in Oregon. I mean, Oregon looks like a top 5 team in the nation, and it's obvious. Like, Oklahoma State didn't even have their starting QB, so even though I don't think that would have helped at all, and then they lose a close game to Tulsa. Tulsa being a group of 5 team. I think they're in the Atlantic Conference. They're a decent team. Nothing to sleep on, but I really just think I don't think Gundy should have been let go. Apparently, they said his bosses, whoever is above him, gave him the option to say that he's going to retire after the season. Like, they would have let him keep coaching, but he would have to say that he's going to retire after the season. Because he would still be on contract. But the thing is, he didn't want to do that. So apparently he just said, he's not doing that. And when coaches get fired, still some of their contract money still has to get paid out to them. So if he would have just retired, he wouldn't get, the rest of the contract money that he's owed. But now they're giving him a $15 million buyout. So there's that. Other news, Oklahoma's John Mateer, his hand got injured. He's going to get surgery on it. He's going to be out for a month. So who knows how well they'll do without him, but I think they might do well. They got the I forgot the dude's name, the black quarterback who stepped in last season. Really fast dude. He might do a little something out there to show that, if Mateer didn't come here, this is what it would have looked like if I was here type stuff. So we'll see what happens. Apparently, Latham for Alabama, he got injured. What day was it? It says in practice Tuesday he injured his neck. So he'll obviously be out for this big game against Georgia. Trying to read more into it. They'll say more will be known within 48 hours. So today is Thursday, the day that I'm recording, and probably the day I'm dropping. I'm recording the audio at least and dropping this video in the same day. This gameplay in the background is just, it's just been there for, so it's Lathan's 6th year. So if this is something like he has to sit out for the season, he could get his 7th year medical red shirt. So let's see what else is in the news. Ole Miss to start Chambliss against LSU. Um, I don't think there's much more news. I mean, uh, some out of football news. I mean, Lane Kiffin was name dropped in one of these girls talking about he was in their DMs. Signetti, looking like he might win Coach of the Year this year so far. What else? Before we get into the actual games, before I start breaking all the games down, that's pretty much it. So let's just go into the games. What games are coming up? All right, so the first games are Friday. There's no games today. Could have sworn there was a game today. Yeah, there is a game today. All right, cool. So don't know why they didn't pop up. East Carolina versus Army. East Carolina is the favorites, and obviously I'm gonna take East Carolina because Army is definitely not looking like the Army of last year. Friday, you have Florida State versus Virginia. Florida State 3-0, Virginia 3-1. I'm picking Florida State. They're rolling. They're looking good right now. They're looking like the team to beat in the ACC. TCU versus Arizona State. Arizona State being the favorite. It's a bit of a tough one. I'm gonna pick TCU. I really feel like their offense is hard to stop. I feel like that they're just going to throw the ball around all over Arizona State. I mean, Levitt is pretty good, but I don't think they're going to be good enough that night to beat TCU. We got Houston versus Oregon State to cap off the Friday games, and Houston being 3-0, Oregon State being 0-4. I'm pretty sure we know which team to pick, especially with Houston being a 13.5 favorite. All right, Saturday. I don't know why I still have this team as my favorite teams on this app, but Virginia Tech versus NC State. NC State being a 9.5 point favorite. We're going NC State. Georgia Tech versus Wake Forest. I think Haynes King is just way too good. I think they're going to continue the trend. I think they're going to continue rolling. And ain't no stopping them until, they run into like Miami or Florida State. We got USC versus Illinois. I did drop a video on Illinois, I think yesterday or the day before, fighting Illini 9. Illinois trying to bounce back, being ranked the 9th seed and then getting destroyed by number 19 Indiana and dropping down 14 spots, which is absolutely crazy because Notre Dame, when they were 0-2, they didn't drop down that many spots, But I got USC winning, mainly because I'm rooting for my boy Bishop Fitzgerald, but it is what it is. Notre Dame versus Arkansas, which is a weird matchup because I never thought I would have seen that. I have Notre Dame. I have Minnesota beating Rutgers. I got Syracuse beating Duke. I got Louisville beating Pitt. I have Kansas beating Cincinnati. I have UCF beating Kansas State, even though Kansas State is a 5.5 point favorite, which doesn't make sense because they're 1-3 and they're playing a 3-0 team. Maybe because UCF hasn't played anybody yet, but North Texas over South Alabama. I'm picking Ohio over Bowling Green. Vanderbilt by a landslide over Utah State. I'm picking Central Michigan to beat Eastern Michigan. I'm picking James Madison to beat Georgia Southern. I'm picking UL Monroe to beat Arkansas State. All right, so those are the 12 to 3 o'clock games. Now we start with the 3:30 games, and this is where the big games come in. I got Ohio State dog walking Washington, even though Ohio State is a 7.5 point favorite. I think they beat Washington by like 21. I think this is the game that really gets Ohio State rolling. I just don't think Washington has enough firepower for Ohio State. Ole Miss versus LSU. I got LSU because of what I just read to y'all earlier about Ole Miss starting another quarterback. That's not going to be too good for them. I think LSU gets the win. Even they got Ole Miss as a 1.5 point favorite, but I think LSU wins by double digits. Texas A&M versus Auburn. I have Texas A&M winning that. Indiana versus Iowa. I have Indiana winning that. UCLA versus Northwestern. UCLA trying to bounce back. They fired their coach. I think they had a bye week last week, so this will be the first competition that this new coach sees, and I'm thinking Northwestern is trying to bounce back after they played Oregon close in the first half, and then they let that game go. But I think they bounce back and get the W over UCLA. California, even Boston College is a 6.5 point favorite at 1-2 over California, who is 3-1. But I'm picking California. I got Baylor over Oklahoma State. I don't think the new coach is going to be able to, turn that program around, especially that fast. I mean, the morality is down. These kids got to get acclimated to a new coach. Some of them probably love Gundy, so they're probably upset about it and whatnot. So I'm picking Baylor. I have Utah over West Virginia. Buffalo versus UConn. I haven't seen much of either, so if I had to just flip a coin, I would hope it lands on UConn. I have San Diego State beating Northern Illinois. I have Navy beating Rice. I feel like they're just going to play Navy football, and that run game is unstoppable. Well, it's not unstoppable, but it's hard to stop, especially for teams that aren't powerhouse teams. I have Toledo beating Akron. I have Miami, Ohio getting their first win against Lindenwood, which I think is an FCS team. I have New Mexico beating New Mexico State in their rivalry game. I have Tulsa versus Tulane. Now Tulsa, beat Oklahoma State, but it's Oklahoma State. So I got Tulane rolling. They've been good for the past few years. I think they just continue rolling. I have Hawaii beating Air Force, even though it says Air Force is a 6.5 point favorite. I think Hawaii just goes 5 wide and just throws the ball all over them. I have Tennessee beating Mississippi State. Surprising to see Mississippi State is 4-0. I have Kennesaw State beating Mid-Tennessee State. I have Old Dominion beating Liberty in their rivalry game. I have Rhode Island beating Western Michigan, which is kind of crazy. I think that would be the upset. I got Iowa State beating Arizona. Southern Miss beating Jackson State. Western Kentucky beating Missouri State. Memphis beating FAU. And now, I'm going to be at this game this weekend, Oregon versus Penn State. Where my heart lies. I'm definitely going Oregon. It's going to be a good rematch from what happened in the college football playoffs. That game was definitely a toss-up. It could have went either way. Penn State pretty much brought everybody back. Oregon, they're trying to get, they don't have Evan Stewart, but they do have Moore, DeCorian Moore. They have Benson. They got a whole stable of running backs. They have Sadiq. The defense is looking good as well. The thing is that they start slow. Like, against Northwestern, they started slow. And Oregon State, they started slow. I think Oregon State, they only had 7 points in the first half or something like that before they started rolling. You cannot start slow against Penn State, especially with it being a night game, especially with it being a whiteout, and supposedly it's supposed to be the biggest whiteout game ever in history. So I'm picking Oregon, even though Penn State is the favorite by 3.5. Georgia versus Alabama. Like I said, Alabama is getting it going now. I think that they're going to have it going against Georgia, but I feel like Georgia's going to figure out some way to sneak it out, and they're going to get the W. I have Missouri winning against UMass, obviously. Washington State beats Colorado State. I got Stanford beating San Jose State. I have Boise State beating App State. I have South Carolina beating Kentucky. I really feel like South Carolina really needs to bounce back. They started the season good, beating my Hokies. Then ever since then, they went 1-2, and Lenore Sellers got hurt in one game, so that's reason for one of the losses. But I feel like they bounced back. Marshall over Louisiana. I got Louisiana Tech over UTEP, and then the nightcap game, BYU versus Colorado. They did play in the bowl game last season, and that was going to be the last hurrah for the Sanders brothers and Travis Hunter, but BYU just completely laid belt to them and ruined that. So I think the same thing happens again. I think BYU, walks all over Colorado. Like, Colorado don't even look like they might win 6 games. They might. They're like right on the edge of winning 6 games, man. But I don't think they can. I don't think they're competing for the Big 12. What other games are there out there? Norfolk State is playing Wagner, which is weird to me because Wagner is a D2 school. So why is Norfolk State playing? Norfolk State is FCS, so FCS can play D1 and D2 schools. So, I think Mike Vick gets his second win. Delaware State with Sean Jackson, they are looking pretty good. I don't know if they beat Sacred Heart, but I'm going to just pick them anyway. Trying to figure out what other good games is on, but a lot of people don't watch FCS, so it really doesn't matter. Another good game, well, actually, never mind. Eastern Washington is not that good this year. Alright, no good game in D2, D3, let's see. I don't even know if you can bet on D3 games, but there's a lot of D3 teams, bro. But yeah, so it's a lot of things going on this weekend. Like I said, I'm gonna be at the Oregon game. I'm gonna be recording. This is my second college football game that I'm going to. Oh snap! Gators starting cornerback Johnson is out for the rest of the season. I mean, there's always sayings like it can't get no worse, right? But with the Gators, it can. It can get a lot worse. Like, they're a terrible team. I don't know if this is going to be Norvell and Lagway's last week. Well, I think they got a bye week this week, but whatever the next week that they play, I don't know if that's going to be the last week that we see them. I don't know. Maybe. I think Florida is going to, in my heart of hearts, I think they would sit Lagway first before they fire the coach, in my humblest opinion, because Lagway's not playing well. So I think, they'll sit the player first, see what happens, give him 1 or 2 games, see if there's a turnaround. If there's no turnaround, especially against good teams, I mean, obviously you can win a cupcake game, but if they play good teams, they'll see what they can do, and if they don't do well, then they'll fire him. And then I don't know if they'll bring Lagway back up, but it's a long week, and we're gonna love. I feel like this is gonna be a big college football weekend, man. But until then, I'll see y'all on the next one. I'm out.
He'll try to pick it up through the air. He's taking the shot. He's got to be patient. No doubt, situational football is probably one of the most underrated, under-talked about things. Like understanding the situation. I have the lead. They have to take shots down the field